What cowboy is Superman's arch enemy?
Hmm. I don't know. It's a good question.
Tex Luthor.
Excellent.
Welcome to the greatest DC comic show on YouTube. Thanks for spending your Sunday nights on Fanboys Live and the Retro Review. On behalf of Tim the Comic Collector, who's not with us tonight, ComicFoo 2814, who's not with us tonight, and myself, Magic Lasso, we say hello to my other co-host, Signature King Tony. Hi, how are you?
Hello, how are you?
I'm doing well. What's going on? How was your week?
Not too bad. Not too
Good to
bad.
hear.
Nice, easy week, and I got Monday off, and
You lucky ducky.
you know it was nice and weather out, so with kids and I raked up some leaves. It was a lot of fun.
Nice. Wow. Let's say hello to those. Oh, for me?
Yeah.
Not a whole lot, really.
No,
No, not a whole lot went on this past week, so.
very nice. Sometimes you just need like an easy weekend, not a whole lot of plans, just easy going.
Yep.
Recharge some mental batteries. Absolutely.
Yep. I'm ready to. I feel like I could go on a big charging hiatus. You know, like climb into my charging station, my bed, and then maybe come out in about 4 years.
They call that hibernation.
Yeah.
You and the bears could all hibernate for the winter.
Yeah. Let's say hello to, but I'm not from Chicago. Let's say hello to those that are joining us in the live chat. If you're watching in the rewind, we certainly do appreciate your view today and you wanting to spend some of your time with us. First in is a double woot from John's Comics with Kids, who's saying hello to everyone. He's wondering if it's Superman Day. Unofficially, it is. So Bronze Age Brian is here and he's enjoying our shirts. So thank you guys for being the first ones in for the live show tonight. So, Tony, I don't know about you. I've looked for DC Comics news, and there just does not seem to be any.
You're right. It is slim pickings.
Like even in comic news and stuff, they're just.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess one of the bigger news items is Tony Todd passed away earlier this week, and Tony Todd was the voice of Darkseid in some of the DC animated projects that they did, and I think he was involved with the Flash live-action TV show. The one with Grant Gustin. So, yeah, it was sad to hear that he passed away.
Yeah. He was the voice of, Tony Todd.
Darkseid.
Well, Darkseid, but I mean, on The Flash, he was...
Oh, yeah, he was...
Gosh, I can't remember that character's name. I'm drawing a huge blank.
Yeah, because they built like an entire season with him as the big baddie, too.
Yeah. Gosh, dang it. Oh, man. It's going to bother me. I don't recall. But he's more of a voice actor than he is a... I mean, he does a lot of...
Zoom.
Zoom.
Mm-hmm.
Zoom. Yeah.
Zoom.
But yeah, he did Candyman, didn't he?
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Wasn't Tony Todd on Candyman?
Yeah, that's right.
Now I got to see his face. Yep. Okay. Yep. I'm thinking the same.
Passed away at 69 years old.
Ah, what a shame. What a shame. Man. Horror movies aren't the same.
No.
Without Tony Todd around. That's for sure. Joker 2, officially the worst DC movie to hit theaters of all time.
Wow.
That's sad when the Birds of Prey beats you.
Yeah, that is, because that was pretty bad.
Birds of Prey and the Green Lantern are rated higher than the Joker 2. That's Professor Zoom. That's right. Professor Zoom. That's too funny.
I know we didn't mention this last week, and maybe it would have qualified for last week's, but the final Crisis on Infinite Earths Part 3 is available for streaming now. For those that have the streaming service and haven't seen it, they're all up on streaming now. I've seen the first two parts, but I'll check out Part 3.
Very nice. Very nice. Yeah,
I know they took a lot of liberties from the original storyline.
I haven't had the time to watch those two, but maybe I should. I heard those are really good.
Yeah, I gotta get back to watching Penguin. I watched the first couple episodes and then I kind of fell off.
I forgot all about the Penguin.
And then this past weekend, I kind of just binge watched all of Agatha All Along.
How's that show? I heard it was mixed.
The first 35 minutes of episode 1, I was ready to turn it off and never go back to it. But I stuck with it, and there were parts that were good, but overall, this is not Marvel in their heyday.
Wonder why, but to do a TV show about Agatha Harkness was a wild idea. I wonder whose idea that was. So
I don't know.
Wouldn't have been my first choice. Yeah. Not that she's a bad character or even played by a bad actress.
Catherine Hahn.
But it's just the character. You know what I mean? Like that's like giving Mirror Master a TV show. Like who cares? No one cares about Mirror Master.
Yeah.
I can see that show kind of flopping before it was even off the air.
Ooh, the season finales tonight. I got to get caught up then.
I
saw the first two or three episodes. I know in the first episode they played my girl Dolly Parton working 9 to 5. What a way to make a penguin.
Penguin. That's funny. Yeah. Boy, season finale already. I feel like it just got on the air.
Mm-hmm.
Was it picked up for second season?
I don't know. I haven't heard anything yet. So
very interesting. I wonder if it is. If anyone's heard anything, let me know. I am excited for Green Lanterns. That's moving forward. Amazon's is moving forward. So, man, I just need some content. They've announced all this good stuff, but let's get to it. I want to do it right and I want to build it properly, but I can't wait much longer. This is my problem with our culture right now. We announce cool stuff 5 years ahead of time.
Instant gratification.
I want it now.
Yeah, I want NOW.
One of these days at Hall H, they're going to announce this really cool movie, and everyone's going to be pumped for it. And they're going to be like, "Hey, guess when the trailer's coming out?" And they say, "When?" Right now, and they press a button, you see the trailer. I'm like, "Oh my God, when does this movie come out? It's so cool." Next week. Next week.
Everyone's too busy trying to scoop everybody else. And that's why you get a lot of stuff reported that isn't even the truth, because it's people just trying to play the odds that their guess is correct.
Yeah.
Remember it wasn't that long ago. Literally every week on the show, we were like, Henry Cavill's Superman. No, then the next week, no, he's not. Then the following, yes, he is. Then the next week, no, he's not. Then the following, yes, he is. Remember, that went on for months.
And Flash newscasting.
Yeah, and Flash.
It seems like every week we were announcing somebody new playing somebody on the Flash. But
yeah. Hey, I collect a lot. Thanks for stopping by.
Josh Borland is Deathstroke. I think that was the last one we talked about last week.
Sounds right.
So that would be fun. Although I feel like it's too on the nose, for cable.
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll find out. I guess Deathstroke, either make or break. We'll have to see who's cast as Batman, to be honest with you, to see if that is really going to make it. But I don't know. Or Jeffrey Dean Morgan. That'd be awesome to cast Jeffrey Dean Morgan as Batman.
Mm-hmm.
Well, no, because Batman and Superman, I guess, are technically the same age. They're not that far off from each other. So they can't really do a much older Batman, but whatever.
Wonder Woman's older.
A few hundred years, yeah.
Yeah.
But they can't necessarily cast someone that's 200 years old.
Yeah.
They could. It'd be a hard time trying. Hey, we're gonna have William Shakespeare voice this actor. Go ahead and get your shovels.
With AI, who knows?
That's true. What can you do?
Yeah.
Very fun.
So, I guess we don't have anything else for the news segment.
No.
No, it really is pretty sparse because I went looking for stuff too, and there just really isn't. So
I agree, Brian. Jeffrey Dean Morgan should have been a Flashpoint. Listen, why would you do a Flashpoint-inspired movie? Just do Flashpoint.
Yep. It's
a story we love. It's a story we like. It's a hit. Why would you... Not that the Flash movie was bad, but come on. At that point, just do Flashpoint.
You know how
Just-
disappointed I was because everyone pretty much said that Linda Carter was cameoed in there. And they even said when she wasn't that she was like right on the chopping block that she was supposed to be. Hey, how you doing, Scott? Hope you're doing well.
Can you imagine if they had an evil Gal Gadot? Like that was the plan, you know?
Mhm.
You know, cutting off Amber Heard's head.
Yeah.
Like in the story.
Mm-hmm.
And then you would have the Shazam kids. Oh, come on. Come on. Why would you do that? DC,
Thanks for
you
blowing
did
up
us
that
dirty.
chat.
Blowing up the chat.
Appreciate it.
Chat. Yeah, for sure. And subscribe to each other. There's a lot of people in the chat with
Mhm.
really good channels. For sure. Just in case if you've never heard of this little YouTube channel called John's Comics with Kids.
I think I've heard of that.
It's not popular yet, but it's getting there.
It has promise.
It's got promise.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's slow news day, unfortunately. I actually got a chance to play with a VR headset,
How'd that go?
and I played the Batman game.
How did that go?
It was so fun. It was so fun to be Batman.
Hey, Rod, thanks for showing up and saying hi. We appreciate that.
Mr. Rod, hey, you want to talk about other channels, underrated channels on YouTube? It's Rod the Rican.
Rod's a friend to every channel on this. I mean, how many people got a break or got people to watch Me Too because of him? So
Yeah.
problem is DC doesn't want to invest all that time. They want the results. You know, Marvel spends a decade putting in the work, but DC wants to go in and by the second movie have those same results, and it's just not accurate. I mean, that's not a realistic expectation.
I think you need at least 3 movies. At least 3 movies to even try it.
Mhm.
But to do it on the second movie, not going to happen. Like,
yeah,
it's just not going to happen. Yeah, slow news day for sure.
yeah. So I guess as we segue into the retro review, if you wouldn't mind bringing up the assist, it was my turn to pick, and I've been kind of thinking all week, oh, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? Something easy. I wanted something easy. And I thought, well, there's this one Bronze Age Superman story that I wanted to review for a while. So we'll do that. And so we're doing pick a Superman story to review tonight. And the one that I picked, I actually have memories as a little young Magic Lasso childhood comic book collector of picking up this book. And first of all, by the cover, I talked a little bit about this on Instagram today, but by the cover, I was intrigued. And I'm like, well, this looks like an interesting story. And then as I kind of flipped through the pages, I got towards the end and there's like a 2-panel cameo where all of a sudden I was like, yep, got to have this book. And that's the reason why I picked up this book. And this book has always kind of stuck with me. And we've never retro reviewed it. So what do you think of that cover, Tony? There's Lois and Jimmy looking on the TV, and there is a lust goddess.
I don't know why this is popping with so many ads. I have my ad blocker on. Okay, hold on. I know another way around.
Okay. Oh, John's given green thumb or green hearts for the lust goddess.
Let's see. That is, what Superman volume is that?
Volume 1.
Volume 1.
326 from 1978. And obviously when I retro review this, I'll get to the part about that cameo at the end that made me really want this comic book and made me always kind of remember this comic book with fond memories.
378. Technical difficulty. There it is.
Yeah.
I found it.
Testicle difficulties.
Volume 1. 378. Did you say 378?
No, 326.
320. Oh, I can't hear it. 326. Here we go. Okay. Now we're cooking with fire here.
Now we got Oleo. So, Tony, what do you think of this cover? We got Lois and Jimmy looking at the TV, and there's Clark Kent telling everyone that he's Superman. He's revealing his secret identity on TV. I mean, if I saw that, I mean, I did. But I mean, I would think if people would see that on a newsstand, they'd be like, I gotta stop and look at this for a minute, you know?
It's very iconic. It's very, I don't know, if you took out the word Superman, like you had just the art, I would say this would make a really good Superman cover.
Yeah, it's Rich Buckler doing the cover art. Okay. Yeah.
Very cool.
So, as we get started on the very first splash page, there is Superman on TV, and he is declaring that he has signed an exclusive contract to the UBC network, and he's going to be doing a live television show. And his first live television show, which will be tomorrow night, he will reveal his secret identity to the nation. And the network has sold all the commercial time on the show for the highest price ever, an unprecedented rate of $1 million a minute.
It's not even it's way more expensive to run an ad on the Super Bowl.
I know, like Super Bowl ads are like 22 to 30 million, you know?
For like 30 seconds.
Yeah, exactly. So that's so funny. So then as we go on with the story, he's like, hey, just in case some of you viewers out there are a little skeptical, I'm going to show you my contract. There it is. It's got my signature on it. In the meantime, we have Lana Lang, who's reporting on this big announcement. And she's stunned, as most people are, to know that Superman is actually doing this, and especially on a rival network, because she doesn't work for them. She works for WGBS, just like Clark Kent does. And some kids have gathered around asking for some autographs. I'm sure one of those is Tony. And, you know, one of the kids says, Superman, can I have your autograph next? And he kind of like is coming out of something. And he's like, well, where am I? And he's like, I'm signing autographs for kids? I don't remember coming here. It looks like I'm having another one of these blackout sessions again. I've got to get out of here. So he tells the kid, rain check on the autograph. And he beats it over to Star Labs, where he's talking to one of the scientists that he worked with before, because in the previous issue, he had some of these blackout spells as well. So he's talking to Dr. Clybourne, and he's saying, you know, I have a copy of this contract that looks like it's my signature on it, saying I'm going to reveal my secret identity. And she says, well, I analyzed it, and compared to this handwriting analysis you gave me, it looks like it does match your signature. And they start to reference back to the previous issue, some of the things that he did when he was blacking out that he didn't quite remember, including using his supermobile to write GBS violates fairness, doctoring in the sky, skywriting, and then using his heat vision to say Morgan Edge is a tightwad on a tombstone. So those were events from the previous issue when he kind of, blacked out a little bit. And she says, the doctor says to him, well, at least we know we know who's causing them, which explains the hostility on the messages you left. And he says, what worries me is I may have done, something besides sign this. Who knows what I'm doing? And she says, well, psychology is really not my area of expertise, but I think it'd be best if we could recreate what do you remember up to the moment that you don't remember anything. And he starts going back, thinking about that he heard yesterday that UBC signed Superman to appear on their network, so he became suspicious, started flying to the building using the X-ray vision. He sees a cabinet made out of lead with his X-ray vision can't penetrate. So he goes into stealth mode and kind of breaks in. And then he uses his infrared vision so he can see in the dark and hopefully not trip off any security guards alerted by a light going on. And then in a minute, he stumbles across the first contract that he signed with UBC. And he's like, Great Krypton, my signature's on this contract. It really is my signature. At that moment, he got his first inkling of who at UBC had masterminded his takeover. And this giant disembodied fist made of some strange cohesive black particles slammed into him and just punches him. And he was beaten into unconsciousness by Inhuman Attacker. When he comes to, he realizes it's Peter Silverstone, the UBC investor in residence, and then he's there with his superpower protege, the man called BlackRock. And Superman's like, protege? My foot puppet's more like it. The last time BlackRock appeared, he was secretly the nephew of UBC's president, which you tricked him into, you mesmerized him into acting as BlackRock, and his boss wasn't pretty happy. And he's like, well, that's true. And really what happened is UBC was not doing well in the ratings because they felt that GBS had all of the exclusive Superman footage and Superman stories. So they thought, let's invent a superhero that will be like our exclusive and we can really compete with them, which is how they tried to create this BlackRock. But BlackRock wasn't fulfilling the need and he didn't catch on like they thought he would. So they're changing tactics, and the owner of the network is telling him there's only one Superman and I think it's time we stole him from WGBS. And he says, but I don't work for them. And they say, well, try convincing my boss of that. And I didn't have any luck, and I'm sure you won't either. What he wants is the impossible. But he wouldn't listen to me. He gave me 1 week to turn you into an employee of ours. Otherwise, he had not only fired me, he'd see to it that I never worked in broadcasting again. So I came up with a sonic disruptor. And the disruptor uses high-frequency tones to alert nerve impulses at various parts of your brain. And he says, the specific tone I used on you affected the communications of your brain and causing you to speak or write whatever I ordered you to do. And he uses this persuader in a series of test runs, and your super graffiti was the result. So in the previous 2 issues that we talked about, that was the test run to this. So now they're kind of playing back of him actually signing the contract. And he does sign the contract agreeing to be an employee with them and to do a live show. He's like, okay, well, that explains how you got me to sign the contract, but why are you telling me all this? And he says, merely as a way of assuring you that I don't intend to harm you. Once you've served your purpose, you'll be freed from my interference. Now I'm going to use the same method again to get you to sign this clause that I added to your contract. By signing it, you agree to reveal your secret identity on Coast to Coast TV. So at this point, he's kind of agitated and he's trying to break out, but this Power Stone is a challenge even to his strength. And he can't break free of it until at the last moment, it looks like he had a little success of finally punching through. And the disruptor tone, they're telling him, is broadcast throughout Metropolis. Anytime, no matter where you are in the city, you'll be able to get him. And he orders BlackRock to release him, actually. He didn't punch through, he got released. And Superman knows that they're going to try to use this ray on him right now, so he takes his cape and he covers his head with it, and then he uses his super breath to suck the air out to make it like airtight, so he can't hear that. But he's using his X-ray vision to see through the cape to run towards them and to try to knock this machine out and break it. But when he does, he realizes there's a force field around it, which is protecting him from his punch. So he can't get near the disruptor unless he takes out Black Fist first. And he's like, I got to avoid that black beam from his Power Stone. There's no telling what it might do to me. And he finally gives him a good knock, and the stone falls out of his hand. But Blackfire could fight without his stone, he says, by no ordinary means, as I was quick to discover. And he punches him so hard that Superman goes flying through a giant picture tube in the TV lab. And that's when he sees the vacuum tubes imploding and sparks starting across the lab, which starts a fire. And he realizes even though these are bad guys, he can't let them die. And he's going to have to take the cape off, which is going to subject him to these waves that they're wanting to use on him, just in order to save their lives of the people that were trying, to harm him. And at that point, he doesn't remember anything more. So we cut back to him, recalling this to the Star Labs doctor that he's been working with. And he says, well, I got to destroy the disruptor before the profiles in the news show or the secret of my identity is cooked. Once I know I can't be forced into revealing it, then I'll figure out a way to avoid breaching the contract I signed. And she says, well, why are you doing that? Any lawyer or any court case would throw this out and say, it's not a binding contract because of the way of the terms of conditions that you signed. And he says, yes, but imagine what a circus that courtroom would be. And I would probably have to subject myself to being under control of that wave again, just to show them that it really works. So that's his reasoning why he figures that he has to go through with doing this. And he says it's a matter of honor, too. People need to trust Superman. If I refuse to honor it, I'll be faced with what happens to most people who are acquitted of serious charges. The public only remembers the accusations and not the final verdict. The story would be that Superman's word of honor is worthless, ignoring the fact that there's so much more to it. But in order to remain effective as a crime fighter, my reputation has to be spotless. So she asks him, well, what are you going to do? And he says, obviously something went wrong with Silverstone's plan. He said he would post-hypnotically wipe my memory of being in his lab, but that didn't work. I could still remember everything. And that gives me a little bit of an edge, which I plan to take advantage of. So at that same moment as he flies out of Star Labs, across the city, this huge hovercraft hidden from the people by a layer of smoke shows up, and the teleporter is there, and they're saying, very well, dispatch the strike force. And you see some shadowy figures coming out, and what they're doing is busting into Clark Kent's apartment because they've been tracking a device that appears to be located inside of Clark Kent's apartment, thus kind of, saying to them that he's probably Superman. They're looking for it. They don't find it until they find a secret compartment, and they're like, what is this? At that same moment, Superman is flying back to the Clark Kent residence, and he flies through the window. He sees them in there, and he says, I guess Silverstone doesn't know that I'm aware of the sonic shape disruptor's existence. Otherwise, he had hidden it or posted a guard around it. And he says, now that I've taken advantage of his critical error, and he's like, wait a minute, this disruptor, it's hollow. There's no working parts inside. That can only mean that I've been suckered into a trap. And then he starts getting hit again, and it's BlackRock trying to take him out with a beam from his Obsidian Power Stone. It converts radio and TV waves into raw energies, which is powerful enough to even affect him. He's like, I got to take that black stone, which is the source of the power, away from him. If it powers the mechanics in his costume, which turns part of his body into ionic particles. So he can fly by riding the TV or radio waves. He says, if I take away that power of flight, the odds will favor me a little bit more. He's like, I'm in a hurry to see this fight end because there's something very odd about it. He says, part of it is that BlackRock hasn't said a word to me any time that I've fought him. And when I kicked him a moment ago, it didn't feel like I was kicking a human body. He's like, BlackRock's cowl seems to be lined with lead to block out my X-ray vision, like the last time. He's like, oh wait, great Krypton. There's a hole in the palm of his hand and I can see through. And it's like wires inside. He's like, his mask may be lead-lined, but his costume isn't, and I can see that he's not human, just a cloud of ionic particles given form by the costume and acting like a living being. He says, I understand everything. He keeps trying to hit me in the head with the black beam, but I gotta dodge it while I bomb him with a full-intensity X-ray vision. His component particles are black, which indicates that they are energy-absorbing, so he just has to overwhelm him with his X-ray vision, causing the particles to absorb more than they can handle. They'll become unstable, and they explode, which is exactly what happens. So he says, since I've stumbled upon the operation, Silverstone tried to mislead me with a phony prop to produce, these lapses of time that he has. The energy probably was broadcast in waves like a radio signal. But to hypnotize me into revealing my secret identity on TV tonight, Silverstone needs to hit me with a concentrated dose. So he fed me the story about the disruptor, so I'd come back here and BlackRock would try to have a shot at doing that. That explains why I was permitted to remember the disruptor and why it was left unguarded. But he says they didn't count on me discovering BlackRock wasn't human. He was a remote control force field. So instead of the Power Stone powering BlackRock, his powers the stone, and his energy channeled through the stone caused his blackouts and his moments of not remembering. Up above in the executives' networks, as they're getting ready for Superman's live reveal, they know that Superman has defeated BlackRock, and they're like, what are we going to do? He probably is onto us. He doesn't know. He knows everything that's going on. And they say, well, don't count on it because he has walked into the building getting ready to do the show. And they're like, well, maybe he was pre-programmed with a premonition, before, and that's still stuck. So they say, well, I guess we're going to see what happens. We need to be number one in the ratings, and we need that $5 million the sponsor are paying us badly. So then we go into the actual show, and it gets to the moment where Lola Barnett, who is like a gossip columnist, she's hosting the show, and they get to the moment where Superman says, my fellow Americans, I am proud to reveal that my secret identity is Clark Kent, co-anchorman of the WGBS Evening News. And then they say, what? Can this be? Is Superman actually blown his secret identity on national TV? Well, yes and no. because they look over there and the people watching, it gets to the part, my secret identity is, and then sputter, and the picture goes out, the sound goes out, and they're not finding out who did it. They're informed that the switchboard is going crazy with angry calls from people all over the country saying the picture and sound malfunctioned at the crucial moment nationwide. And he's like, I've been ruined. The sponsors, they're going to sue us. So the show is over, and then Lola Barnett reveals herself to be Wonder Woman in disguise. And she says, it was my pleasure to protect your identity by standing in for Lola, since as a member of the Justice League, I already know your identity. She then takes her magic lasso, and they free the real Lola from the soundproof booth that Superman locked her in. And then all of the crew, she uses the magic lasso on them to make them forget what they have seen and heard tonight. And he says the technicians who broadcast my revelation won't remember it either, nor will they ever know that I used heat vision to cause the cameras and sound equipment to malfunction at that critical moment. Now to take care of some unfinished business. And he goes up to the president's headquarters of the network, and he says, I don't know how you did it, but you tricked me, and I'm going to sue you blind. And he says, you'll do nothing, but be thankful I don't have you arrested for fraud, extortion, and invasion of privacy. And he goes to say, look, here's the proof that you did all of that, and I'll show them this footage that I have. And he's like, you tear up my contract, and then you tear up my contract, don't use that against me, and I won't use this against you. So it was a 50-50 deal. Then on the bottom two panels, Clark Kent is finally getting home after an exhausting night, and there is someone with a gun pointing at him saying, don't move, Mr. Kent, unless you wish to be teleported into space in the midst of a red sun system, where without your powers, you will die instantly. This is what would happen, is it not, Kent, or should I say Superman? And it's the terrorist organization Kobra, not to be confused with the one on G.I. Joe, and that is how the issue ends.
No, let's confuse it with Kobra, because that would be the greatest crossover of all time.
That would be. So
that would be a lot of fun.
Let's say hello to White Tiger, cool, calm, collected, Muabunga to you, and to Kenneth Bird, who has joined us as well. Hope everything's going great in Virginia tonight. So, Tony, what is your story that you picked, and why did you pick it?
I decided, since we're picking on Superman, that I picked this one for two reasons. One, it is one of my favorite characters, and two, the artist Joshua Middleton. He's local to me. Well, he was, but he got his start right here. He was born right here. He was raised right here. Went to school right here. So all within 5 miles from me. So
nice.
Kind of a cool callback to home. He was supposed to appear at Baltimore Comic-Con this summer. He had to cancel. A lot of people canceled because there was a funeral for John Cassidy, I think that's who it was. Another big content creator in the comic book community. So a lot of people canceled, including Jerry Ordway, to go attend to that. So I'm going to get him this year, which is great. I got a whole bunch of stuff I want him to sign.
Including this book?
Yeah, including this book. I'm going to ask him to sign 2 copies, one for me. One will be donated to the Pennsylvania State Library Archives,
nice,
along with some other cool Pennsylvania comic book creators. So his name will live forever in the State Archives.
Nice.
So
take it away.
Yeah, I had to bring in some Shazam for Superman. So it kicks off on the throne of the wizard Shazam, and he's talking about before the age of the Amazon, the Speedster, and the Space Knight. Years. It's been years, less than 1 year since the criminals of Gotham told the story of the winged creature. And just in time when Metropolis got itself a new guardian. Finally Fawcett City got one, and we're looking at Fawcett City, and this plane is coming down. It's going to crash right into the city, and do some serious damage, but it's caught in midair. And who was it? It was Shazam. And he says, I've got this. So witness the accounts verified the cool, calm, and collective Captain Marvel. And at this point in the timeline, Billy has been Captain Marvel for 3 months. So he's still learning. He's still learning how to do things. So we cut over to the Fawcett City National Museum, and they're having an exposition on artifacts on ancient Russia. So, and these bad guys break in and they are stealing stuff. And Superman comes in. He's already got the bad guys that are watching the door in custody. And this line right here made me laugh. And he's like, Superman? Like, questioning, like? And Superman's like, yeah, you're very perceptive. Big giant ass floating, carrying several people at once. Yeah. Who else could it have been? And Superman says, hey, listen, there's been 6 museum robberies of ancient artifacts across the country in the last few days. I'm here to find out why. And the guy said, let's talk about it. But first you have to get through this. And these 3 bad guys whip out these ancient staffs and summon some kind of monster. And it's huge. And Superman's like, oh, yeah, that's right. Vulnerability to magic. Not good already. So, and this creature thing is really fast, and it's incredibly strong, and it's got Superman pinned, but he's able to heat vision the top of this thing's head. And I don't know if it died or whatever, but it was done after that. So Superman is ready to round up these criminals, but they disappeared with the purple smoke, and the only trace that he left for them was a coin. And he said, I don't know much about magic, but I know who does. We cut to Billy, and he's in Metropolis, or not Metropolis, in Fawcett City. Fawcett City Solar Center construction site, currently under siege by these giant mechanized robot things. And he's fighting them, and they're slowly escaping the yard, or they're putting the public in danger. He's not sure what to do, so he rips their feet off. He rips their legs off. I mean, hey, that works, I guess. So, these robots slowly start to stop. And he's, getting ready to be done here, but then these robots start throwing, like, fuel trucks at him. But he's able to catch them and kind of throw them back. I did notice that maybe there was a driver in one of them, and Billy didn't notice. So I don't know if they meant that or what, but I don't know. I'm just saying he didn't see the guy get out. Dr. Bruce Gordon, the Solar Center chief scientific advisor, is talking about these robots and how they could have gotten out of hand or whatever, and he's really thankful. So we cut back to Billy Batson. So instead of orphan Billy Batson in this story, he's homeless. He's a homeless youth on the streets of America. And he's talking with another youngster named Scott Cooper, who does know about Shazam and Billy Batson. So, but yeah, and Cooper shows in the headlines like, "Hey, could you next time make things a little less obvious like who you are?" And yeah, so Billy is obviously feeling really bad about his situation, and he could easily fix it, but he doesn't really want to do that. He wants to earn his way up to the top, which is a good trait to have. I think that's why a lot of people, including me, like Billy Batson. But yeah, he's reading the headlines about Metropolis Museum robbed of Russian artifacts targeted, and he's thinking, hey, you know what? Metropolis is right next door. They're coming to Fawcett City, and sure enough, and it turns out that the Dr. Sivana is behind it. Him and Lex Luthor are behind the whole thing. So Billy Batson's staking out the museum, and he sees the robbers. So he turns into Shazam, and he's going in. And he confronts the crew in the same way that Superman confronted his. And Billy has a really great line here. He's like, hey, listen, if you need something from the gift shop, they closed hours ago. Plus, you got to pay for it. And the same kind of thing happens. Once they see Billy, they summon some kind of like demon monster thing. And Billy says, hey, no problem. I can handle these guys. But in the next panel, you see him getting tossed out of the museum on his rear end. So maybe he can't. And as he's climbing to his feet, he looks up and he sees Superman. And he says, it looks like you could use a hand. And that's our big cliffhanger. So Superman, Shazam, if you've read the story, team up. And it's an exciting story. But that's a really good teaser, in my opinion.
Very nice. So, thoughts about the two stories we reviewed tonight?
Yours is pretty interesting. I really enjoy like some of like 50s, 60s, and maybe in the 70s, like some of those silly villains that have like these silly ray gun names. And this one we had the Sonic Disruptor. It's a very classic kind of thing, and it'll never get old to me. That silliness is I like it. He can ride on the TV and the radio waves.
Yeah.
Can you imagine like if that superhero tried to exist now? He couldn't.
Yeah, exactly.
He couldn't, especially since it's all digital now. He's analog, so at least he's got some kind of converter. You need a villain who can ride like fiber optic cables.
yeah, exactly.
That'd be a lot of fun. But yeah, your story was really cool, and it's interesting to see like the art style change from yours to mine. And
definitely big time.
Yours was hand drawn, and if they made a big enough mistake, they got to start all over. There's no Photoshop, or I don't know what type of art program they use with software. They can just erase part of it and start over. So
yeah,
major comparisons between the two. But I really enjoyed yours. That was a lot of fun.
Of course, for me, just that 2-panel Wonder Woman cameo. And I remember as a little kid, like flipping through it, and I saw Wonder Woman at the end. I'm like, what is she doing here? And I'm like,
this one's mine. Yep.
Yeah, I need this one. And I got that one too. Very
nice. So did you get this right off the spinner rack?
I don't think it was actually honest. Well, it might have been. I seem to remember it being at a grocery store, but not in a spinner rack. They just had them in like a shelf.
So when you say grocery store, so when you were a young lasso and you would go to the grocery store, they had like just a magazine rack with just like random magazines and random comic books on it?
So in the town I grew up in, there was two places to get comic books. A grocery store, which had theirs on like a shelf, like a magazine shelf. And then, like all the comics, they would just sit one in front of the other. There was no designation, no alphabetical. It just, here's the comics, you just flip through them. And also the place I usually got them at was a drugstore, which did have a spinner rack. So I seem to remember getting this at a grocery store in a different town. Same type of deal. It's just large magazine racks with a pile of comic books, and you just flip through the pile. And I remember pulling that one out, and there's no indication that Wonder Woman's on it on the cover. And just going, well, that's an interesting cover. And flipping through, and then I saw her at the end, and I'm like, have to have.
That's how I experienced my comic books growing up. It was at a store maybe you've heard of called Hy-Vee.
Oh yeah.
And that's same experience. I'd go in the grocery store, and they didn't have. Sometimes it was mostly like Independence or DC. I don't remember them ever having any Marvel books.
Really?
And obviously that was huge influence on me. And that's how I grew up liking DC over Marvel. I didn't really know anything about Marvel or the X-Men or the Avengers. I got the same kind of experience. It was really funny. I remember I picked up this one Predator comic, and I was looking through it. It's like in third grade, and I'm looking at this and all the blood and the gore and whatever, and I was like I don't know, like how is this allowed for kids? And I asked my dad, like, is this a kid's book? And he's like, yeah, sure, it's cartoons. Okay. Yes, it's okay. So I got a Predator comic book that day, but it was a lot of fun.
Nice.
Midwest, I think, is different. We really don't have, unless you live, close to Chicago or Des Moines or Omaha, you're really not going to get a lot of shops.
Yeah. Madison had a few
Madison,
back in the day. Yeah, but that wasn't local for me. So I think as growing up, I went to Madison maybe one time that I can remember in my life.
Growing up, my nearest shop, I had two choices. I could go north to Minneapolis, or I can go south to Des Moines. But either way, it's going to be about 4 hours.
Yeah, it's going to be a haul.
So, definitely not in the cards. So
yeah.
Everything was done by mail, or you just look at the draw at Hy-Vee? And we didn't.
I do remember writing to comic book stores in the vicinity. I would write and ask them if they had something. They would write me back and tell me, and if they did, they'd tell me how much it cost. And then I'd write them back and send a money order, and then they would send the book. That's how you did it.
That's how you did it. I remember. Yeah.
Yeah. I mostly stuck to the ones around my area, like in La Crosse. There was
Sure.
a comic book store, Dubuque, Iowa, stuff like that.
Was there one in Dubuque? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, very cool. I don't remember that. Okay, sure.
I actually got to go to the store in Dubuque, on occasion, because that was the closest major city to us. So theirs was right downtown, 1626 Central Avenue. It's amazing that you remember that address.
It's probably not still there, is it?
The building's there. I mean, the comic store has morphed into about 3 or 4 owners since the original one. And it's moved locations as well, but the comic store by name still exists. It's just not in that location.
Wow, that's great for that story. They must have a great market.
I remember when the second owner had it, and they were moving locations. They had the best comic book sale I've ever been to in my life. All back issues are cover price.
What?
Got me an extra copy of DC Comics Presents 26, never been read, for cover price. Got me all of the Crisis on Infinite Earths again issues, all 12 of them, bought them again, cover price. It was amazing.
That's a heck of a deal.
Yeah, that's the best sale. I think I want to say I spent just under $300 there, which you got to remember back then, $300 was a lot of money. And I mean, I came out with tons of books.
Well, especially if you're paying cover price. I mean, there's
some of the books I paid 35 cents for. Some were 50, some were 60.
That's crazy, man.
Yeah.
That's nuts.
Yeah.
I would kill for a sale like that. You have no idea.
I know.
That would be fun.
So I guess we'll talk about what's going on in our channels. I'll go first, if that's okay.
Sure.
I did my back issue of the week YouTube short, which was on The Flash. So that came out this past Monday. It's the current back issue of the week. Back issue of the week number 149. And then I did, for my comic book editions video, an unboxing of a Dazzler commission that I had done by the Frame Brothers.
I saw. It was beautiful.
Yeah, they're so talented, and their prices are so good and so easy to work with. And they were up at your Baltimore Comic Convention. They had a booth set up over there.
Frame Brothers?
FRAIM, yeah. Because they started work on mine right after Baltimore CC.
I don't recall, but then again, I don't really know who they are.
Yeah, well, now you do.
Well, now I do. I have to look out for that.
So that's what's on my channel already. Coming up on my channel, I'll have a back issue of the week, YouTube short, episode 150, and I picked a comic book numbered 150 for the 150th edition. Imagine how all that worked out.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's dropping tomorrow morning. Then on Tuesday, those have heard me talk about my friend Andre from Brazil, and he's AOKB many times. Tuesday afternoon, the video is an AOK from Andre, but what's different of this than any other, Andre's in studio with me.
Handing it to you.
Handing it to me. I don't mean like he's remote and we came together. No, he's sitting next to me. And it's part 1 of 2. So
excellent.
Yeah. So I'm excited to share that coming out. And Tony, you had a little bit of a part in surprising him in that video too.
Yeah, good.
Which will be in this part 1 that will be coming out on Tuesday. So that's what's coming up on my channel. Of course, subscribe. There's links to my channel, to Tony's channel, and the other fanboys in the description for this video. For a book show, I just thought let's just grab something close by that's Superman related when I was pulling. And I grabbed 2 different digests. And the first one is a World's Finest digest. There was Superman and Batman from the early 80s.
Wow.
There's a nice little back cover for you.
That's cool.
And then the other one that was right next to it was another Superman Team Up Action digest.
Team Up Action. Very cool.
So it reprints some of the DC Comics Present stories and stuff that have been done. What's the back cover for it?
Some Metamorpho on there.
Yeah, a little Metamorpho, some Batgirl, GL. So I just thought those would be something a little bit different to show as book shows tonight.
Very nice.
Yeah. Do you have something to show us and to tell us about?
I do. So last week I showed some posters that I was able to pick up.
That's right.
But I ran out of frames, so I was able to get a new frame. So here's the last of the 3.
Ooh, look at that.
Absolute Superman. And this is an absolute beauty.
Yeah.
They were running this deal at Michael's where it was buy 1 frame, get 2 for free. So total of 3 frames. Yeah. And I was like, well, I'm returning 2 at one price. So I ended up returning the 2 that were broken and picking up these ones and actually saved money doing it. So, and this is a much better frame, to be honest with you. And I did get 1 more poster frame that I wasn't able to last time, and it's pretty cool. I think Lasso would agree with me. I don't know if you remember this one. Let me put my little tripod down here. Tell me if you remember this one.
I do remember that one because I sent you 2 of them, but they're different.
They are, and I have the other one also framed somewhere in the collection. It's the reverse.
It's the reverse. So Batman's on the ground and Spawn is, yeah.
So when I looked at it, it's all folded. All I could see was Bat, and part of Spawn on both of them. So I figured it was, I don't know why, but I thought it was 2 of the same poster.
Nope.
And I only framed 1 of them. And then you told me that, it's flip-flopped. And I was like, oh, dang it, I wish I would have known that.
Yeah, that framed up nicely.
They do. These frame so nicely, and these frames look a lot nicer. I like the thicker black.
I do too.
It's the fake wood, so to speak. Yeah. The other one's just like clearly plastic. But these are good. I really like these. I can't wait to someday expand my wall space. These are going to be awesome. Very excited to continue to collect these too. So
nice.
I even looked online on eBay for some of these Batman and Spawn ones. They go for about $25 a piece.
Do they really? Oh wow!
In good condition. And this one is, it's in great condition. So
yeah, it was never displayed.
Yeah, and that's what they want. They look at like tacks on the corner, they look for tape, and there's none of them. So very excited for those. But coming up on the channel, there's speaking of changing up of the room, we got rid of the big black cabinet here. And on the other side, I don't know if you remember, but on the other side of that were 2 file cabinets where I keep some supplies. I had comic book stuff here. It's going to be a lot easier to work with that. But I had to make room for my incoming new file cabinet for the books. So I'm bringing in another one to make some space because I'm out of comic book space in my file cabinet. So I have no choice here. I've got to acquire another one. And of course, as a collector, selling's never an option.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not gonna downsize.
You don't downsize.
Yeah, I upsize. And that's what I'm going to do. Luckily, I know where to get them for literally pennies on the dollar. This one, if it costs me anything, it cost me less than $5 for the whole thing. And it's going to be bigger. I'm going to go bigger than I usually do, just to accommodate for some future growth. So stay tuned for that. I'm going to make a whole video about it, picking it up, driving it home, playing Tetris to get it in this tiny room, how I'm going to, lay down some plywood on the bottom to keep all the drawers nice and flat. So I think I'm going to get some really good content coming out of it. So that's going to be at some point this week. I'm going to pick it up. So I'm going to start filming then. So stay tuned.
Nice. Of course, if you'd like to do a book show with us, you can share maybe a Superman cover with us. That would be awesome, since that was the theme of tonight's Retro Review. Share a cover with us on Instagram. Use the hashtag Fanboys Live in the Retro Review so we can make sure to see and that we catch your posts too.
Yes, please do.
Next week will be your Retro Review. Do you have any idea what it's going to be?
I'll think of something.
To be announced.
I'll think of something. To be announced, for sure.
Yeah. Thanks everyone for watching, especially if you watched on the rewind. We appreciate you. Have a super week. This has been the greatest DC comic show on YouTube, Fanboys Live and the Retro Review, and we will catch you next week. Until then, bye.